Hi, and thanks for listening to Gossip with Celebrity, brought to you by Sportlady20 This week we talk about the Royals, Chris Evans and Lily James, and a blind item about a male celebrity whom his female co-stars hate. Our user feedback is about how awesome we are, and we end with our weekly feature, the comments of the week. At about minute 30, we talk about sex, so if you have any kids around, you may want to turn it off at that point. The stories, photos, and tweets we talk about can be found at celebrity.com/podcast under episode 58. Hi, I'm Katie, the founder and editor of Celebrity.com, and I write as Celebrity.
And I'm Chandra, I'm the head writer for Celebrity, and I write as Kaiser. I got confused for a second.
You did good. You could have played it off.
I'm like, who am I? What do I do? Oh, God.
Well, we took last week off because it was 4th of July, so we didn't record last week. And in the meantime, we got... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I could use another 3-day weekend. How about you?
This week it feels long. It started picking up towards the end, but then today was kind of terrible too. So, yeah, I could use another 3-day weekend. We don't even get 3-day weekends. We just sort of get a little bit less to write, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's nice having a full weekend off, really.
Yeah. You can take that off whenever you want. I know you will not, but I just want to tell you that.
No,
I
wasn't.
You very well.
I wasn't saying that as like a pointed comment. I was just like...
I know. I just want people to know I'm not cracking the whip on you. It's your own...
You're fine. I'm fine.
Everything's fine. It's like that gif with the little dog and everything's on fire around him.
Yep. Everything's fine. Yep.
So we have a new writer. She writes as Oya, and that's Tanisha. And you guys heard her on the last podcast, number 57. I'm so glad she wanted to write with us. So.
Yeah. Welcome, Tanisha.
Yeah, she's doing a great job. I was scared to ask her. It took me like a week to ask her because I didn't think I was like, she's going to reject me. So I saw you wrote that you went to our car dealership. I could say our since I bought a car from yours.
I'll even name the kind of car. It's Nissan. I have a Nissan, and I went to the Nissan dealership. And all right, to be fair, everyone who worked at Nissan was wearing their mask. They all were. But I was the only customer in the dealership who wore a mask. And that drove me crazy, that everyone in there, all the people who were getting work done, all the people who were looking at cars, none of them were wearing a mask.
Oh, I'm so sorry. My check engine light is on after I got my oil changed. So I'm like, what do I do? But I'm just drive it.
No, don't do that. You should get it checked out, but just wear a mask and don't give in to peer pressure to take the mask off or whatever.
I think the oil people just screwed it up somehow because it wasn't on before I got my oil changed for a fortune.
Oh, they might just need to like reboot that whatever. You know, I'm so technical. But
that's what I thought. Yeah. They trip something and it's nothing, so ignore it.
Right. Like on my Nissan, my check tire light comes on even if I've just had my tires checked. And it's just like they need to reboot something.
Yeah. It's all
we're super
computers.
technical. Like we're going to start a car podcast pretty soon.
We're like those guys because we laugh at each other all the time and we can't help it.
What, Click and Clank on NPR? Yeah. I love those guys.
Yeah, frickin' frack, not Click and Clank.
No, isn't it Click and Clack?
I thought it was frickin' frack.
No, I think that's just their joke. That's Click and Clack, frickin' frack, whatever. But
I'm gonna look it up later. I'm gonna splice it in and look it up
totally
later.
Click and Clack. And they love it when a car is making a weird sound. They're awesome guys.
They redo it. Yeah, they reenact it. I hope we live on like them, at least, in our podcast. Hi, I'm recording this later. Of course she was right.
Hello and welcome to Car Talk from National Public Radio with us, Click and Clack, the Tappert Brothers.
All right, so we're going to have a commercial. This is our first commercial. And I came up with this on my own. So you and I are both Discover Card users. And just like you got me to go to your car dealership, you got me to get a Discover Card. I have to say that.
Discover Cards are awesome.
They are. So I got identity thefted, and I noticed that my credit kept getting dinged and I couldn't tell what it was, but it turned out that someone was applying for credit in my name. I'd always had perfect credit until then, but it kept going down. So I got a Discover Secure card. I had to put a deposit down on it and whatever. They gave me the card. They were so easy to deal with. They're just like their commercials. If you call them, there's a real person there and they're nice, and they're not really fake nice. Like sometimes.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever had to call them, but I am sure that if I did have to call them, it would work out really well. They're just, they seem very nice. Everything is very easily explained with them.
And you get like a certain percentage back when you buy gas, when you buy groceries. They have different promotions. So if you sign up for a Discover card at celebrity.com/discover, that's celebrity.com/discover. You can get a $50 credit if you use the link and make your first purchase within 3 months.
Yay,
Thanks,
our
guys.
first commercial.
And I just got that idea because they sent me a referral code, and I called them and I'm like, can I put that on my podcast? And they go, sure. So
That's nice.
all right. So this week we had a lot of royals news. There's Meghan's lawsuit against Harry and Meghan's lawsuit against the Daily Mail. We'll get into that in a moment. But one of the stories that came out this week is we saw Meghan and Harry talk to young leaders about Black Lives Matter. And that was a video that they did for the Queen's Commonwealth Trust, which they're still representatives of.
Right.
And it was nice to see them talk to people. And Harry made some really not basic, but true and accurate statements about systemic racism.
Right.
And about the Commonwealth.
And so just to explain this, I saw the video pretty soon after it came out, and my immediate reaction was, I cannot believe that they are still doing this kind of substantial work on behalf of the Crown. Like, the Crown has pushed them away. They've exiled them, and Meghan and Harry are still trying to be good representatives. So that's the angle I took on it. And of course, that was the wrong angle because...
Well, girl, it doesn't matter what we write. You know, people are going to find fault with it, but yeah.
No, it's not like that. It's that every British outlet was basically freaking out because Harry admitted that racism exists. That's what it amounted to.
He said that white people benefit from systemic racism, and he said some really kind of benign things about the Commonwealth needing to acknowledge the past. So here's a segment from that.
And when it comes to sort of institutional and systemic racism, it's there and it stays there because someone somewhere is benefiting from it. Certainly when you look across the Commonwealth, there's no way that we can move forward unless we acknowledge the past. And I think so many people have done such an amazing, incredible job of acknowledging the past and trying to right those wrongs. But I think we all acknowledge on here that there is so much more still to do.
I mean, it's not that damning what he said at all.
Not at all. The reaction to it was so outsized. It was so ridiculous. It's part of the larger narrative about Harry and Meghan very specifically. And it really was throughout all of the British papers. This criticism of Harry specifically for talking about systemic racism.
So the Express, the Mirror, and the Telegraph ran stories with royal experts and right-wing politicians claiming that Harry was wrong to say that it wasn't appropriate, that we should look forward, not back. I mean, these are all old white guys, I'm sure. I mean, Harry only said the most basic truths about racism.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we talked about this in our Zoom meeting this week, and we all kind of agreed that this is a human rights issue. It's not a political issue, and it's long past time that the royal family acknowledge this. And it's particularly egregious how William and Kate are stuck. So here's a segment from that, and this is Zakiya, Karen, and Sarah.
A lot of people have said that Harry has really found his mother's voice and really has taken on the mantle that she had. And I think Meghan has a lot to do with it, and him finding his voice and standing and knowing that he had this privilege, but that he's using it to speak for those who don't, and using his voice to advocate for those who are disadvantaged and marginalized. I think it just amplifies what William and Kate and the rest of the royal family are trying to hide from and still stay in and maintain, and everyone is moving forward, and they're just stuck and they resent him for moving forward. And if they just got out of their bubble and their selfishness, that they could get unstuck and come along with everybody else and moving forward.
It's this constant refusal to evolve, to deny, and just, William is so bored with racism, and Kate has finally found her voice after a decade. The thing is, it's not a political issue. It's basically a human rights issue. And someone who is in a position like theirs can say, hey, you know what? Privilege is real. There's systemic racism. There's all this. And it's something that we need to rectify. We need to rectify our past and realize that there are things that we've done that we're still dealing with in the present. Again, it's not political. It's really just, what's going on in the world. They're so insulated and they just have no interest.
They're very good at recognizing privilege when they complain that they just want to be normal, but you don't. You basically just don't want the scrutiny. You don't want to work a proper job. You don't want to live in a normal house. You don't want to have to do your own cooking or cleaning. You just don't want to be scrutinized and held to a higher standard. And they've never accepted or acknowledged that they've got that kind of base level privilege that they all have for being white and upper class.
Yeah, and that was another criticism that I saw in a lot of comments and a lot of British outlets and British Twitter, was that how dare Harry benefit from white privilege all his life and now try to acknowledge it.
Like, how else? I don't get it.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It makes no logical sense, right?
Right. And I mean, I get that Harry could be criticized for some things. And
yeah,
he's absolutely done some dumb shit in his life. 100%. He has and will fully admit that. He hasn't always been as aware of these kind of issues as he is now. But yes. At least he's trying. He's trying to talk more substantively. He's trying to address these things in really basic ways, in ways that Kate and William just aren't. They don't care.
William said he's bored. Kate hasn't said anything. The royal family hasn't acknowledged Black Lives Matter at all.
No.
And it's egregious.
For the Queen to not even say one fucking thing is obscene. I would have thought that Charles would say something because he's very...
Yeah, Charles.
He's very, Britain is multi-faith, it's multi-ethnic, multi-racial. That's very much his thing. I'm surprised that he hasn't said something.
Doesn't he have that Asian trust that he...
yeah,
Katy Perry?
Yeah.
Katy Perry's like the representative. Because she's so good at appropriating Asian culture.
Oh, that's a whole other conversation. But yeah,
I know.
He cares.
He tries.
Charles cares like Harry cares to a certain extent. Kate and William are just, it feels like they're becoming more and more like a lost cause. People just automatically assume that they don't give a shit and that they're lazy. And that's just their default now. And everyone knows it.
Yeah. Kate is like projecting that through her clothes, that she wants to go back to a simpler time. Right?
A simpler time where she can just wear prairie dresses and be a sister wife. Yeah.
We've been using so many great older photos of them for all these stories that are coming out. And it just strikes me how many tiny buttons she has all over everything. Like it's... So we also got a lot of stories embiggening Kate, because that's what they always do. And we got a rehash of the story that Meghan was some kind of diva for telling one of Kate's staffers to do her job.
Yeah.
And we have heard so many variations of this same story. It's getting to be like the stupid asking the kids not to wear tights at the wedding story, because it's one incident. Like, how many different ways are they going to talk about this?
And at this point, they've made it clear it's not even about anything that Meghan really did. The point of the story is always that Kate knew what to do, that Kate cried, or that Kate was the perfect one and Meghan was the bitch.
Oh.
That's the crux of every version of the story.
Yes.
And
yes,
the fact that
that's
they
a good
can't
point.
stick to one story shows how it's just all bullshit.
They can't stick to one story about the same thing. And it's so obvious they're talking about the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
we've heard this. Like, she made the staffer cry. Okay, because the person had to do their fucking job, you know? She sent an email at 5. Oh, okay. Sorry, go ahead.
The way Kate is infantilized compared to Meghan is always just sort of breathtaking to behold. The fact that Kate is nearly 40 years old and they still talk about her like she's a precocious child, or that she's just a shy little baby and she's just learning how to come out of her shell now.
Finding her voice. She lets her husband shine. Okay, here's a segment from our Zoom meeting where we were talking about this whole incident with Meghan and one of Kate's staffers.
If you've been at your job for like 10 years and everything moves at this glacial pace, and then you get someone who comes in and expects things to be done in what I would consider a normal, timely manner, not 8 years to come up with 5 questions, that's probably a bit of a like culture shock. I think they all just completely freaked out. And then they were like, oh, she's so demanding. And it's probably like she asked for a report and asked for it to be done by the next week. And they're like, we usually have 3 years to do a report.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm sick of people smearing Meghan for being hardworking.
Yeah.
So Meghan's legal team filed an injunction against the Daily Mail in their lawsuit against them to keep them from publishing the names of her 5 friends who spoke to People magazine on her behalf. Could you give the background to that story?
So February 2019, People magazine does this big exclusive cover story where Meghan's friends are talking to People magazine exclusively about all the shit that was happening around then. And if you remember correctly, like, that was the height of the smear campaign. It started in November 2018, and then it just was going full blown for months. And
while she was pregnant.
Yeah, and so Meghan's friends came out. They said a lot of really nice things about her, but one of the anonymous friends raised this issue of Meghan did write to her father. She wrote her father a letter and basically gave him a list of things that he would need to do or change if he ever wanted to really have a substantive relationship with her anymore.
Yes.
So that was the jumping off point. That's why Thomas Markle claims that he had to sell her letter to the Daily Mail. So now the Daily Mail has made it all about this People magazine story and who were the friends who spoke on her behalf and whether or not Meghan authorized it, blah, 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 blah. Basically, the Daily Mail is just dragging this all out, and they're trying to change the story away from whether or not they did something illegal or improper by publishing the letter, which they definitely did. That was never in doubt. They're making all these legal filings and extending the lawsuit to the point where they're just trying to beat up on Meghan constantly. So the latest thing is that Meghan had to name the 5 friends. She named them in a private, confidential document which the Mail had access to. And then the Mail basically threatened to publish the names of the 5 friends. And Meghan issued a statement saying, bitch, you thought. That's basically threatening their lives, their livelihoods. You're going to torment them. You're going to smear them like you've smeared me.
Meghan has security, but her friends don't.
Right.
And that it does put their lives at risk because she's such a high-profile person. And so many people want to do harm to her. And so we're getting all these other related stories, too, from the details in the lawsuit about how Meghan couldn't defend herself. The palace actively kept her from denying any of these ridiculous stories while she was pregnant and saying it caused emotional distress and damage to her mental health.
Which is not news to anyone who was paying attention during that time. The fact that the palace treated... or the establishment, the palace, they treated the smear campaign against Meghan so differently than, say, they treated Prince Andrew or they treat anything having to do with Kate. Also, the palace was part of the smear campaign against Meghan. I mean, of course, Kensington Palace isn't going to issue a statement about a false or negative story about Meghan because they were the ones who planted the story.
And the way the Royal Rhoda papers responded to this news by saying they couldn't deny stories which were true, kind of confirms that the Royal Rhoda was in on it. And the Sussexes told us about that through their website when they named the Royal Rhoda and said they weren't going to work with them. I mean, you knew about this, but to me, that was a real education as to how the press works and gets access, and how the palace could have shut those stories down about Meghan at any time.
Looking back on it, it wasn't that long ago. It was less than 2 years ago. But
yeah,
I think that there was always going to be a pushback in the press against Meghan. I really do. All those old white men who are newspaper editors, they were always going to have a problem with her. All those rich bitch aristocrats, they were always going to have a problem with Meghan. But the palace could have done more to protect her. They could have done more to look ahead and say, you know what? Meghan is an investment in our future.
They left them out in the wind.
Yeah.
And they did plant some of those stories when she wasn't immediately exactly what they were expecting, which was like Kate, somebody who just does whatever they say and is almost robotic. I'm sure Kate has suppressed so much of her personality. Who knows what kind of person she would be? I mean, I don't want to get into her whole I don't want to get into her whole psychology.
Yeah.
But she's been expected to step behind William at all times, and I'm sure he's an emotionally abusive partner. And that's how the whole firm is. They're just controlling and telling women what to do.
Yeah, I'm less sympathetic to Kate. I think she made her bed.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm sympathetic. I just see what is happening.
I think Kate made a Faustian bargain. That's what I think.
Yeah.
She did it for power. She did it for money. She did it to be queen.
Yeah.
And she's going to ride that thing until the bitter end.
All right. So while everybody's nitpicking Meghan for something she might have done 2.5 years ago, Prince Andrew is a rapist and a pedophile and is friends with one of the most notorious human traffickers ever.
Two. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a whole cabal of these people are powerful. And one of them's president of our country.
Yeah. The good news is that Ghislaine Maxwell was arrested at long last.
Yeah.
That is good news. Let's just celebrate that.
Yeah.
The fact that a human trafficker and abuser of children was arrested. Even though she has money, even though she has access, even though she has probably reams and reams of blackmail material. She was arrested by the FBI, and she's currently sitting in a Brooklyn detention center on suicide watch. I just read that right before we came onto the podcast. She's on suicide watch, and they took away her sheets and her clothes.
All right. Well, I don't give a shit. What am I going to say? Okay. I mean, I hope she spills the dirt on a lot of these people.
Yeah.
This is the whole thing. Prince Andrew is a total piece of shit scumbag.
Yeah.
And he hasn't sat for questioning in the U.S. He's wanted by the Department of Justice. And he was supposed to go to Spain this summer, but he canceled it. Oh, poor Andrew, because he could get extradited. Yeah, I don't know all the words.
Yeah, he could be picked up. He could.
Yeah.
I mean, if he leaves the UK, God knows what could happen to him, basically. And
oh, no.
So he's going to be stuck in his royal lodge for a very long time. And that's some sort of justice. It's not really justice, but it's fun to imagine how sweaty and panicked he is at the very thought that Ghislaine could sell him out.
I hope she does.
Yeah, me too.
I hope she has videos and I mean, I don't want them to be released to the public, but I hope they have enough. I hope they have shit on Trump too.
Yeah.
Anybody who did this, anybody who hurt those girls deserves to go down.
There are lots of silver linings because Ghislaine has money and a lot of the victims have come together. They're adults now. They have legal representation, and they have active civil cases against Epstein's estate. And now they can start to sue Ghislaine. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, I hope they get all her money.
Yeah.
And that that'd be nice. Then she spends the rest of her time in prison.
Yep.
All right, so let's talk about some stupid, superficial stuff. Chris Evans and Lily James were spotted out together in London, and we heard that they went to a club together, and everybody was kind of up in arms about that, understandably, because why are you fucking going to clubs now?
To be fair, it was a fancy private club. It was like a members only club. I'm sure she's a member because she's famous and white. But everyone is very confused about when Chris arrived in London and whether or not he quarantined. It doesn't look like he did quarantine.
No.
And my theory is that he and Lily were hooking up, have maybe been talking to each other. It was clear that they sort of knew each other and they were hooking up. And then the photos of them going out for ice cream in the park, they were so posed.
Everybody was kind of up in arms about the two of them, and especially amid questions of what Chris did or didn't do during the pandemic, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But then they staged those ice cream photos with them laying around eating ice cream at the park. And people are saying that they did that because the Emmy voting is coming up soon, and he has that website, the Both Sides website. Give me a fucking break.
Yeah, I mean, I also think that he just likes girls. And all right, how do I say this? I think he has legitimate anxiety issues and all that, but I also think he uses sort of the like, I'm a shy, sensitive guy as a line to pick up women. And I think that's what he does a lot. And we just happened to catch him with Lily James, and so he tried to put a bow on it and say, oh no, we're in a real relationship, and you know, we are going out for ice cream in the park. And she's not just some random hookup, you know, just some girl I'm boning as soon as I come into London.
Yeah, that's a good point that he put a bow on it.
Yeah, and Lily, I kind of feel bad for her because she was in a legitimate, like, long, serious relationship with Matt Smith. And I remember reading interviews with her when she was with Matt Smith, and she was really settled down with him, and she really loved him. I think she would have loved to have married him, and that just didn't work out.
She's 31, so that's that's about when I got married, when I thought I wanted to get married.
Yeah, I mean, it happens to a lot of women. They start to see 30 and they're like, oh, I should get married.
Well, I wanted a baby too, so.
I did not want either. I did not want a husband or a baby.
Yeah, you avoided some of the. I'm so glad I have my son. I love him so much, but yeah, it's a lot. So, Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas have been ridiculous, over the top, and we haven't even been talking about them on the podcast because they're just idiots. And she just looks at him like he's the best thing ever, and she's laughing, and they're playing it up for the paparazzi. Well, they got a write-up in the Washington Post, and they were called the pandemic's only tabloid celebrities by Emily Yar. And she also interviewed Lainey from Lainey Gossip, and it was a cute take on it. Like she said, their pap strolls were an unexpected source of comfort in an unsettling time. She was being nice, but they look like idiots. Everybody's noticing. Their pictures of them are going viral on Twitter all the time. Yeah. So after that came out, it came out the 4th of July. They haven't done anything since. They haven't been photographed since. I mean, that could change.
Well, okay. So I agree with her that it's fun. It's stupid.
Yeah.
That's why I like the Chris Evans, Lily James thing, because it's just a relief to like talk about, oh, are they hooking up? That's a fun gossip story no matter what.
Exactly.
After all the crushing pandemic, and it's like, oh, here are these pretty people acting like assholes, Yeah.
More women should do stupid pap strolls in really bad outfits.
Yeah, just in general. Wear a mask and a terrible outfit, and that's fun.
Yeah. Please do that. We want you to do that.
I don't mind Ben and Anna. I think that they should tone it down, and they probably are, but I think they're fun.
They deliberately toned it down after that because when the major outlets report about him, he pays attention. And I bet you that it's affecting their relationship and he pulled back from her after that because that's so much like him.
Yeah, that does sound like him.
But, I mean, I don't care. I think it's fun, too. But, yeah, she's not helping her career at all by doing this. Not at all.
And I don't get that at all because my entire frame of reference for Anna is that Vanity Fair profile where she sounded like she was a very self-assured young woman who knew what she wanted.
But she was so defensive in that.
She was defensive about her love life. Yeah, she was.
She's got that issue, man. She knows it.
I just did not expect her to be all gooey-eyed over Ben Affleck and his Phoenix back tattoo. I mean,
what'd you call him? Meaty. You called him steroidy.
He's meaty and steroidy, and
he smells like cigarettes.
He's got that Botox face, and she's looking at him like she's looking at the face of God. And
you could get really stupid if somebody makes you come a lot, and you haven't had that before. You get really stupid.
But how could he do that? I mean,
he's old. Old dudes learn how to do it, and then whatever. No, I'm serious. Like, when the dudes get old, they know exactly what to do, and they make women stupid. I'm not speaking from experience. Yeah. All right. You want to move on to the comments of the week or talk about the next thing?
I just want to say one last thing about Ben, is that I don't think I personally could come if I was looking at him. I don't think I could. I'm just putting that out there.
He could do it for me. He could. I'm gonna lie.
No, I could not.
He could. He could get me off. It's a mechanical thing. It is. It's not like...
Yeah, but then it's just the Botox face. Oh, I'm just cringing right now just thinking about it. Oh, God.
It skeeves me a little, but he could do it for me.
All right. After this, I don't ever want to hear you say fucking bullshit about Diplo. Ugh.
Oh, come on. Diplo could make me come. He could.
Diplo could make me come.
He could. I'm not saying he couldn't. I didn't say I wouldn't. I said it skeeves me out, but I'm not. Pickings are slim out here. Okay.
All right. Speaking of douchebag meathead something or other.
All right. So we had All right. I'm fine. Okay. All right. So journalist Yashar Ali tweeted a blind item that got really popular this week that you ran. And he wrote, "There's a famous Hollywood actor who nearly every actress I've ever known is grossed out by. Not in a Me Too way, but they just can't stand him on a personal level. It's almost universal." So in the comments, he said that the person is in their 40s and it's not Leonardo DiCaprio. And I heard somebody else in our Zoom call said, and I can't verify this, that he said it has the same number of letters in their first and last name. Did you hear this?
Yeah, someone did say that.
Okay. So if it has the same number of letters in the first and last name, that eliminates a bunch. And that's making me think it's Jeremy Renner.
I know, we're both looking at our document and counting letters.
Yeah, Jeremy Renner. It's 6 and 6. It could be Jeremy Renner.
Yeah, but a lot of people are like, actually, Jeremy Renner gets along with a lot of people. I think he's a dirtbag. I think he's probably an absolute freak, but...
yeah, what he did to his ex-girlfriend, yeah.
But I think he also is super professional, and that he probably is quite close to a lot of his co-stars, male and female. I don't know. I'm not going to cape for Jeremy Renner.
I can't comment because I'm sitting here counting on my fingers. I'm sitting here counting my fingers.
But my best guess, and I mean, this is regardless of the counting letters thing, is Bradley Cooper. I still say that Bradley Cooper is a major contender for this blind item.
He's awkward creepy. I don't know who to credit for that, but somebody in the Zoom meeting said he is awkward creepy.
Yeah.
And that's true.
I just keep on thinking about what he was like with Lady Gaga and like him wiping off her makeup when they first met.
And yes.
And how they just seemed to like barely be able to stand each other during the promotion.
They faked it though.
You could really tell that Gaga did not want to be in the same room with him at all.
And in that movie, he touched everybody's face, too. Nobody touches other people's faces like that. It's gross. When he was Sexiest Man Alive, for some reason, I have no idea, he said he likes women without makeup. And I'm like, fuck you. All guys say that. They want you to wear something, or they ask if you're sick.
Yeah, and my other big guess was Tobey Maguire, and I just think he's a real gross skeeve.
He's totally skeevy, yeah.
He treats women like shit anyway.
But what has he been in? He's not in anything lately.
Well, he's A-list because of Spider-Man and Seabiscuit, but like those are our generation kind of movies. Yes. I don't think the kids know him at all.
No. And I was thinking Matt Damon.
Yeah, and I think that's a good, interesting guess. I always thought that Matt Damon was popular with co-stars, but you were bringing up some of his history, and maybe you're right.
Jessica Chastain had a blind item that someone emailed her to calm down when she was sharing her Me Too stories, and we know how Damon reacted to the Me Too stories. He was like, well, let me tell you what abuse is, blah, blah.
Yeah, but would he email her and tell her to calm down? I don't know.
Yeah, it makes sense that it would have been him, because he had just worked with her or something. And then he was so terrible to Effie Brown on Project Greenlight.
Yeah, he was.
He white-splained diversity to her, and we got that on video.
Like, that's the vibe I get from him, is like white-splainer, mansplainer, that kind of thing. I feel like that's different than being gross or a douchebaggy to women in particular. I don't know.
People said Jared Leto, too, because Jared Leto did a bunch of weird shit on the Suicide Squad.
I didn't even list Jared Leto because I think Jared Leto is a Me Too story waiting to happen.
Yeah.
I think it's beyond just being a douchebag. It's just predatory.
Yeah, there's so many stories of him statutory rape, potentially statutory raping.
Allegedly, but yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the user feedback. Sportlady20 commented, I really enjoy your podcast. It's like listening into a friend's conversation. In pandemic times, it's a nice outlet to have. And Little Penguin commented, this popped up on my phone yesterday morning and I went for a walk shortly after. Thank you for the great conversation and laughs. The podcast has become the break I needed each week.
It's very nice.
Thank you, you guys. And Little Penguin is not the same as Penguin. There's somebody named Penguin I need to ban.
Oh, yeah. I've seen Penguin's comments.
They're trolling. And, Penguin, not Little Penguin. Penguin, you are banned. They're trolling in the Meghan stories. All right, let's move on to the comments of the week. So my comment of the week is on the stupid word salad letter that JK Rowling and other authors signed, which it was so bad. Like, who would sign their name to that? It made no sense. But they basically said they didn't want to be canceled.
Yeah, I didn't choose a comment from that thread because it was a mess. People who were defending these powerful authors, powerful artists' right to say anything they want to without consequence. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Anyway, go ahead.
Just don't cancel us for being assholes and for marginalizing people. I mean, JK Rowling is the worst. This is going to be her legacy. This is her legacy now, being anti-trans.
I didn't even cover it, but last weekend, JK Rowling did another Twitter thread where she was transphobic as hell. I didn't even write about it. She
doubled down.
Yeah.
Because it's so tiring. And also, you guys, we are not writing about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard.
Oh, yeah. Fuck that noise. Fuck it all.
Johnny Depp has hired a ton of trolls, commenters, and bots. He has an entire PR team on this, I am positive. Mm-hmm. And I ran the IP addresses quite a while ago, and they're all foreign. And then they're recruiting other people, and they're bothering us on Twitter. They're emailing me. Why don't you cover Johnny Depp? Amber is the real abuser, blah, blah, blah. No, fuck you. We're not covering that story. Okay, thank you. So my comment of the week is by Belli, with an I, Belli. And they wrote, writers shocked to discover that words are powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My comment is from the Duchess. Kate is coming out of her shell once again in a prairie dress and buttons and wedges. So she's coming out of her shell fully clothed. And a commenter named Florence, she did this absolutely amazing comment where she wrote out this huge thing that can be read as a poem or new lyrics to a killer song. And I'm just going to do a part of it, and I'm not going to sing it because I can't sing. She wrote, coming out of my shell, and I've been doing just average. Got a Zoom call because I want jewelry. It started out with waiting. How did it end up like this? It was only a bush. It was only a bush. And it just goes on and on from there. It was a brilliant comment, and I hope everyone checks out her beautiful poem.
So that was, it started out with a kiss. How did it end up like this?
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right. That was very good. I'm going to check that out. We'll link that in the post for this. This is podcast 58.
Woohoo.
Wow. All right. Well, thanks for listening, bitches.
Thanks, bitches. Fuck the police.
Forget that. Fuck the police. That's right.
That's the new ending.
We're doing that. Okay. I forgot. Okay.
Thank you for listening to the Celebrity Podcast. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. If you like us, please turn off your ad blocker when you visit our site. You can text us or leave a voicemail at 434-218-3219. Our music is from AA Alto, Maiden, and via Premium Beat and Sound of Picture. Thanks again.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.